A common thread in a string of shootings in Austin over the weekend and the San Diego deadly mosque shootings that happened on Monday is that the suspects in these cases are teenagers. That can be linked to a larger, troubling trend. Research from the Kaiser Family Foundation shows while gun violence overall is trending downward, youth gun violence has sharply increased in recent years. In fact, guns are the leading cause of death for kids under the age of 17. We're going to get some more perspective on this from a pediatrician and a gun owner, Dr. Sandra McKay. Dr. McKay, welcome and thanks for joining us today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We appreciate you being with us. So let's begin just by talking about what's possibly driving this increase in youth gun violence.
Yeah. And, I think one of the things that we've seen over the last several years is firearm injuries have become the leading cause of death in children and teens. And the causes behind there are just very nuanced, and there's really not one driving factor behind what's causing or driving gun violence among youth. I think what we do know, though, is that there are many ways that we can do to help intervene, especially when we think about the various causes or intents of gun violence. And really, we have to think about things like homicide and suicide prevention in order to really curb this epidemic of youth gun violence.
Yeah, you touched on it there a moment ago, but I mean, how are kids typically getting access to firearms in these cases?
Yeah. And so one of the things that we want to think about and focus on is ensuring that kids don't have unauthorized access to firearms. And so some of those may be getting firearms from their own homes, especially if those aren't secured properly within their homes. And one of the things we like to talk about with gun owners is to make sure that youth don't have access to firearms, especially knowing things like the codes to the gun safes at home, and that they're, not having unsupervised access to firearms.
Yeah, what does safe storage look like exactly? I think that might be helpful for people out there. And what kind of a difference can that really make?
Yes. So secure storage looks like, making sure that all firearms in the home are locked. And we recommend that they also are stored unloaded with the ammunition separate from the firearm. And in looking at making sure that the children that are in the home that are old enough to know how to get access to something like a safe, they don't know the combination to the safe, or that you're not using a commonly used number like a birthday or an anniversary day that they might be able to guess for a combination in there. And then also making sure that you're talking to your kids and your families about firearm ownership and responsible firearm ownership. I think, once you get to those teenage years, kids know that you own them and they know what it's there. So it's also having those conversations about that in the home, so that way they can, as a family, make decisions and also discuss, what are the responsibilities of everyone in the home.
Yeah, what are some of the ways that you would suggest to parents who might be watching right now to talk about gun safety and ways to be safe around those?
Yeah, I would start with having open and honest conversations with your children and say, these are what is in the home. These are not toys. They are something that is a weapon, and it is something that can kill people and hurt people. And this is something that is not something to be utilized on your own. We always have supervision around here, and to start having those conversations around, you know, making sure that your friends aren't utilizing these devices around you, that you're not taking it with you if you're concerned or worried about something. Firearms are not to be used for your own personal protection if you're feeling like you're being bullied or threatened in any way, because there are other ways that we can address those outside of needing to bring in a firearm.
Well, Dr. Sandra McKay, we'll leave our conversation there, but that's very helpful for people out there to listen to. So thank you again for joining us here this afternoon. We appreciate it very, very much.